Senator Canela, Secretary, please read file item 234.
Assembly Bill 1504 by Assemblymember Alejo, and Act relating to elections.
Senator Canela.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to present AB 1504, a district bill that will allow for an additional rural county and urban county to participate in the existing all-mail ballot elections pilot program, which has a sunset date of January 1st, 2018. The two counties being added under the bill will be Monterey County, which is in my district, and Sacramento County, both willing participants in the program. The purpose of this bill is to broaden the statewide analysis as we gather additional data that can be reported back to the legislature regarding the impact of all-mail ballot elections. This bill was recently amended in the Senate to ensure additional voter access by requiring polling places be provided every 50,000 registered voters with a minimum of one polling site per city. This bill passed out of the Senate Elections and Constitutional Amendments Committee with bipartisan support and enjoys support from several co-authors who represent Monterey and Sacramento counties. I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Members, debate or discussion on this item. Senator Anderson.
Senators, I voted for this. I've supported consistently mail-in ballots because I think it's important to get more people involved. And in one of our committee hearings, we had a bunch of disabled folks come up, and they spoke and they said that they were concerned about the mail-in ballots because when they're blind, the equipment they have doesn't work for a mail-in ballot, and that they were concerned because in many of the counties they had 1, 2, or 10 locations that they could go to, but there was no guarantee that there was public transportation to get there. This is a major hurdle for me. I want to support this bill. I want that, but we have to have counties that step up and make sure. So one of the things that I had offered was, I said, well, would you be willing, because we're not talking about a lot of voters, would you be willing to ensure that they got to a station where they could use their equipment to vote for themselves? Because I don't want to take a high propensity voter and then deny them access to the poll. That'd be equivalent to a poll tax, simply eliminating people because they have a disability. So I'd like to ask a question of the floor manager.
I thought there was a question hidden in there.
Sure.
Senator Canela, would you like to answer a question?
Senator Canela, in your close, would you address these concerns? Because at the time, I know that the author was looking into it and trying to make it happen. I just don't know what the follow-up was. I'd like to vote for this, but I cannot deny a disabled person who's had a history of voting all future votes because they fell through the cracks. Thank you.
Members, additional debate or discussion on this item? If not, Senator Canela, would you like to close?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I think that's a very valid concern, and I think that's why the bill was amended to have one polling site per city with at least 50,000 registered voters. This is a pilot program that's set to expire in 2018. There's been 2 counties participating since 2011. Actually, San Mateo was recently added. So this is data that we're going to gather. Is it a problem? Does it work? If it doesn't work, then we need to make the necessary adjustments. So I think this bill covers that scenario. Certainly we want disabled voters to be able to vote, and I think with the amendments it's able to do that. So I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Thank you. Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. Aye. Anderson. Aye. Bates. No. Bell. Aye. Berryhill. Block. Aye. Canela. Aye. De Leon. Fuller. Gaines. Aye. Galgiani. Aye. Glazer. Aye. Hall. Aye. Hancock. Aye. Hernandez. Hertzberg. Aye. Hill. Aye. Hueso. Aye. Huff. Jackson. Aye. Lara.
Aye.
Aye. Leno. Aye. Leva. Aye. Liu. McGuire. Aye. Mendoza. Mitchell. Aye. Monning. Aye. Morlock. Aye. Morrell. Aye. Wynn. Nielsen. Morrell Adeno. Nielsen. No. Pan. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Roth. Aye. Runner. No. Stone. No. Vidak. Wachowski. Aye. Wolk. Wolk, aye.
Call the House of Members.
Berryhill. Aye. De Leon. Fuller. Hernandez. Aye. Huff. Lou. I, Mendoza. I, Wynn. Vidak. Aye.
Ayes 31, noes 5. The measure passes. Moving on to item 235. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 483 by Assemblymember Patterson, enacting the Healing Arts.
Senator Hill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, Assembly Bill 483 will decrease financial burdens on newly licensed professionals in our state. This bill implements a prorated system for initial licenses in certain professions, similar to successful programs currently in place at the State Dental Board and the Acupuncture Board. It was recently amended to include chaptering out amendments and a delayed effective date at the request of the Department of Consumer Affairs. AB 483 has received strong bipartisan support. I respectfully ask for your aye vote, members.
Members, debate or discussion on this item? Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, is there any objection to using a unanimous roll call? Seeing and hearing none, ayes 39, no 0. The measure passes. Moving on to item 237. Senator Monning. Senator Monning, are you prepared to take up this item? Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 374 by Assemblymember Nazarian, an act relating to health care coverage.
Senator Monning.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. More than 16 million Californians with chronic conditions are impacted by health plans and insurers' reliance on step therapy protocols, which can force patients to fail first on several alternative medications. Assembly Bill 374 establishes a standard step therapy exception process and form. The bill requires health plans and insurers to respond to step therapy exception requests within 72 hours for non-urgent requests and within 24 hours in urgent circumstances. AB 374 ensures patients' unique needs are taken into consideration, as the use of step therapy may not be in the best interest of the patient. Members, I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. Members, debate or discussion on this item? Senator Anderson.
Senators, I rise in support of this bill. This bill strikes an important balance between health plan oversight and doctors' discretion so that patients receive the most appropriate treatment. You know, so often we know that some cases are more severe than other cases, and yet we make them go through this bureaucratic process of working their way through the drugs when the doctor knows best. The doctor knows that there are other treatments out there that would help that patient, and we shouldn't allow the process to get in the way of the good. And we should allow those doctors to move at a timely fashion so those patients can really enjoy life. And with that, I urge an aye vote.
Members, additional debate or discussion on this item? Seeing and hearing none, Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. Aye. Anderson. Aye. Bates. Bell. Aye. Berryhill. Aye. Block. Aye. Canella. Aye. De Leon. Fuller. No. Gaines. Galgiani. Glazer. Aye. Hall. Aye. Hancock. Aye. Hernandez. Aye. Hertzberg. Aye. Hill. Aye. Hueso. Aye. Huff. Aye. Jackson. Aye. Lara. Aye. Leno. Aye. Leva. Aye. Liu. Aye. McGuire. Aye. Mendoza. Aye. Mitchell. Aye. Monning. Aye. Morlock. Aye. Morrell. Aye. Wynn. Nilsson. No. Pan. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Roth. Aye. Runner. Aye. Stone. Aye. Vidak. Aye. Wachowski. Aye. Wolk. Wolk, aye.
Please call the absent members.
Wynn, no. De Leon. Gaines. No. Galgiani. Aye.
Ayes 34, no 0. The measure passes. Ayes 34, noes 4. The measure passes. Moving on to item 238, Senator Liu. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Concurrent Resolution 38 by Assemblymember Brown relative to unpaid family caregivers.
Senator Liu.
Thank you, Mr. President. The resolution would establish the California Task Force on Family Caregiving. The task force will examine issues relative to challenges faced by unpaid family caregivers, review the current network, the services and supports available to caregivers, and provide policy recommendations to the legislature by July 1st, 2018. Amendments made in the Senate reduce the number of the task force members from 20 to 12, require a non-state organization to agree to provide administrative support, and clarify that no state funds will be used. ACR 38 has bipartisan support. There's no opposition, and I ask for your aye vote on this bill.
Members, debate or discussion on this item? Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, is there objection to using our unanimous roll call? Seeing and hearing none, ayes 39, no 0, measure passes. Moving on to file item 239, Senator Bell. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 786 by Assemblymember Levine, enacting to common interest developments and declaring the urge thereof to take effect immediately.
Senator Bell.
Thank you much, Mr. President. AB 786 will close a loophole in existing law that allows homeowner association to fine homeowners who allow their lawns to turn brown. And this is a historical drought that we're having, and we should be encouraging this behavior, not fining it. So this bill will simultaneously ensure homeowners associations have incentives to develop access to recycled water. We have a Save Our Water campaign that advises citizens to conserve water, and by letting their lawns go brown, we're asking people to do that. This bill would make it clear that a homeowner association can only fine a homeowner who has access recycled water and is not using it to maintain landscaping. The author has worked with homeowner associations. The Community Association Institute removed their opposition with the recent amendments, and I urge an aye vote.
Members, debate or discussion on this item? Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Secretary, please. Oh, Senator Stone.
Thank you, Mr. President. I stand in support of AB 786 as a significant member of many homeowners associations, and you would think in today's drought that homeowners association boards would be aware of our drought. And I actually had a personal experience of a HOA trying to site one of my properties for actually closing the water system down and conserving water. It was only then that we brought it forward to them that we're in a drought and we need to conserve water. So I think this is a great way to make sure that we communicate with homeowners association boards, many of which are volunteer, to make sure that they're informed of the law and allow us to do what we need to do during this very important drought conserving water. I appreciate the authors bringing this forward. I urge an aye vote.
Members, additional debate or discussion on the item? Seeing and hearing none, Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. Aye. Anderson. Aye. Bates. Aye. Bell. Berryhill. Aye. Block. Aye. Canella. Aye. De Leon. Fuller. Aye. Gaines. Galgiani. Glazer. Aye. Hall. Aye. Hancock. Aye. Hernandez. Aye. Hertzberg. Aye. Hill. Aye. Hueso. Aye. Huff. Aye. Jackson. Aye. Lara. Aye. Leno. Aye. Leva. Aye. Liu. Aye. McGuire. Aye. Mendoza. Aye. Mitchell. Aye. Monning. Aye. Morlock. Aye. Morrell. Aye. Wynn. Aye. Nilsson. Aye. Pan. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Roth. Aye. Runner. Aye. Stone. Aye. Vidak. Aye. Wachowski. Aye. Wolk. Wolk, aye.
Please call the absent members.
Bell. Aye. De Leon. Gaines. Galgiani. Aye.
Ayes 38, no 0 on the urgency. Ayes 38, no 0 on the measure. Measure passes. Members, these are the next 5 items. File item 241, Hall, 242, Leno, 243, Wachowski, 244, Bell, and 246, Fuller. Moving to file item 241, members, Senator Hall. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 532 by Assemblymember McCarthy, enacting to state agencies.
Senator Hall.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. AB 532 will require any state agency, board, or commission that collects demographic data to provide forms that offer respondents the option of selecting one or more racial designations as an alternative to existing singular racial designation boxes. In California, roughly 1 in 6 births overall in the state and 1 in 4 births to native-born mothers are multiracial ethnic. Many multiracial Californians are still forced to deny significant parts of their racial identity on state forms when they are required to select only one racial designation. Over 200 state agencies currently collect data on race and ethnicity. However, none of the information is collected in a uniform manner. AB 532 will bring California in line with federal data collection requirements and create an accurate picture of California's multiracial population. I respectfully ask for your aye vote on AB 532.
Members, debate or discussion on this item? Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. Aye. Anderson. Aye. Bates. Bell. Aye. Berryhill. Aye. Block. Aye. Canella. Aye. De Leon. Fuller. Gaines. Aye. Galgiani. Glazer. Hall. Aye. Hancock. Aye. Hernandez. Aye. Hertzberg. Aye. Hill. Aye. Hueso. Aye. Huff. Aye. Jackson. Aye. Lara. Aye. Leno. Aye. Leva. Aye. Liu. Aye. McGuire. Aye. Mendoza. Aye. Mitchell. Aye. Monning. Aye. Morlock. Morrell. Wynn. Aye. Nilsson. Aye. Pan. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Roth. Aye. Runner. Aye. Stone. Aye. Vidak. Aye. Wachowski. Aye. Wolk.
Please call the
Aye.
House of members.
Bates. De Leon. Fuller. Galgiani. Morlock. Aye. Morrell. Aye. Fuller, aye. Galgiani, aye. Bates, aye.
Ayes 39, no 0. The measure passes. Members, moving on to file item 242, Senator Leno. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 1116 by the Committee on Privacy and Consumer Protection, an act relating to business.
Senator Leno.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, this bill deals with connected televisions that are even smarter than you thought they were. They can take your voice command, which is a good thing, but they also save the recording of your voice, which then they use for further voice analysis that they do or a third party subsequently does to improve the technology of voice recognition. It's this saved recording of your voice that this bill deals with, and it merely specifies that this saved information cannot be sold for advertising purposes. The bill also would require that televisions with voice recognition capabilities inform you or me when we're purchasing the television, so we know that our television is listening to things we are saying in our living rooms to our families. The bill has been worked and negotiated with stakeholders by the author, Assemblyman Gatto. Industry has removed their opposition. There is no listed current opposition, and I ask for your aye vote.
Members, debate or discussion on this item? Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, is there opposition? Is there objection to using a unanimous roll call? Seeing and hearing none, ayes 39, no 0. The measure passes. Moving on to file item 243. Senator Wachowski, Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 807 by Assemblymember Mark Stone, an act relating to real estate transfer fees.
Senator Wachowski.
Mr. President, members, this bill makes declaratory and clarifying changes to existing law regarding disclosure of real estate transaction fees. It's a consent item. I urge your aye vote.
Members, debate or discussion on this item? Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, is there objection to using a unanimous roll call? Seeing and hearing none, ayes 39, no 0. The measure passes. Moving on to file item 244, Senator Bell. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 861 by Assemblymember Mainshine, an act relating to mental health services.
Senator Bell.
Thank you much, Mr. President. Members, in 2014, Congress adopted Protecting Access to Medicare Act, which up to 8 states will be selected to have their federal share of cost for outpatient behavioral health care for individuals with severe mental illnesses or serious emotional disturbances to be increased to the equivalent to the enhanced federal matching rate for the Children's Health Care Initiative program. This would double federal funds to support the community mental health and substance abuse disorder services with no additional cost to the state or county. This is extremely important that funds that California could be used to serve some of our most vulnerable population. This bill would ensure that if the state is successful in its bid for the planning grant, its application for the competitive grant will be allocate a significant portion of the realized savings to provide housing assistance for people with severe mental illness. I urge and I vote on this measure.
Members, debate or discussion on this item? Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, is there objection to using a unanimous roll call on this item? Seeing and hearing none, ayes 40, no 0, measure passes. Members, we're going to lift the call on file item 188, AB 1200. Give me a quick second. Secretary, please call the absent members.
Morrell, aye to no. Anderson, Bates, Berryhill, Canella, De Leon, aye. Fuller, Gaines, Hertzberg, aye. Huff, Monning, aye. Morlock, Wynn, Nilsson, no. Runner, Stone, Vidak.
Call the absent members.
Anderson, Bates, Berryhill, Canella, Fuller, Gaines, Gaines no, Huff, Morlock, Wynn, Runner, Stone, aye. Vidak.
Ayes
Stone, aye to
27.
no. Stone, aye to no.
Ayes 27, noes 3, the measure passes. Members, on file item 188, Senator Allen moves a call. Members, we're back to Assembly third reading. Assembly third reading, file item 246, Senator Fuller. Senator Fuller, would you like to take up file item 246? Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 1150 by Assemblymember Levine, enacting to energy.
Senator Fuller.
Thank you, Mr. President. AB 1150 will help the University of California and California State University to achieve greater energy efficiency by expanding the existing Energy Efficiency Partnership Program to include investor-owned utilities. Collectively, the UC has substantially contributed to the state's energy efficiency goals through the Energy Efficiency Partnership Program. The program has saved 373 million kilowatt hours and 18.7 million therms annually. This bill has received unanimous bipartisan support. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Members, debate or discussion on this item? Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, is there objection to using a unanimous roll call? Seeing and hearing none, ayes 40, no zero, the measure passes. Members, the next group of items we're going to take up are file item 247, Wachowski, 248, Block, 249, Bell, 251, Allen, and 253, Block. Beginning with 247, members. Senator Wachowski, Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 1182 by Assemblymember Santiago, enacting to secondhand goods.
Senator Wachowski.
Mr. President, this bill clarifies California's secondhand goods law in regards to tangible personal property as it is applied to resellers and antique dealers in California. Now, when the electronic reporting database for secondhand goods came online just earlier this year with the Department of Justice, had highlighted some complications in the application of the program. As written, the language in the code today could conceivably require every single reseller to catalog every single item that they purchase and that they intend to buy. This includes used books, pieces of clothing. When I go to the bulk pickup and I drop it, they'd have to fingerprint me and itemize every item. It's burdensome to these small business people and the resellers and the antique dealers, especially when most of the material is irrelevant to law enforcement. So this bill clarifies that tangible personal property applies only to serialized goods, and anything additional that is included in this list maintained by the Department of Justice. And with that, I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Members, debate or discussion on this item. Debate or discussion. Senator Stone.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, let me say that I think you're doing an absolutely fantastic job in moving the agenda forward. If you could just slow down just a little bit for some of the slower members, I would appreciate that very much. But I am very happy to stand up and rise in support of AB 1182. We are all elected to not only enact new laws for the benefit of the people of California, but to amend existing law if we find that there are unintended consequences, as we often do. The existing definition of tangible personal property uses the term includes, but is not limited to, and as such requires every reseller to catalog, report, and hold for 30 days every single item they purchase that they intend to resell. This is an incredibly burdensome to the state's resellers, antique dealers, and auction houses, especially when most of the material is irrelevant to law enforcement. As you know, I have a great deal of respect for law enforcement. However, the opposition by some of these organizations is based on the premise that they want resellers to hold each used item they acquire for 30 days. It doesn't matter what its value or it's not commonly a stolen item. This is an unreasonable burden to place on small businesses in California. This measure does provide law enforcement the data on the grounds, on the goods that they are statistically found through the Department of Justice Annual Crime in California report to constitute a significant class of stolen goods. I therefore stand with my colleagues from Fremont to urge you to vote aye on AB 1182. Thank you, Mr. President.
Members, additional debate or discussion on this item. Senator Glazer.
Members, I was a no vote in committee on this issue. Was hoping that law enforcement and the author would be able to work out something different than what's before us today. But the answer from law enforcement was they wanted everything. And I thought that was a little bit much, and I thought there was room for compromise. Given that there hasn't been anything to resolve that dispute, I think that what's being proposed today is reasonable. And if law enforcement has some concerns going forward, I hope that we'll be open to potentially including those items on some future legislative requirement. But accordingly, I'll be voting yes.
Members, additional debate or discussion on this item. Senator Wachowski, would you like to close?
I would urge an aye vote, Mr. President.
Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. Aye. Anderson. Aye. Bates. Aye. Bell. Aye. Berryhill. Aye. Block. Aye. Canella. Aye. De Leon. Aye. Fuller. Aye. Gaines. Aye. Galgiani. Aye. Glazer. Aye. Hall. Aye. Hancock. Aye. Hernandez. Aye. Hertzberg. Hill. Aye. Wisso. Aye. Huff. Aye. Jackson. Aye. Lada. Aye. Leno. Aye. Leva. Aye. Liu. Aye. McGuire. Aye. Mendoza. Aye. Mitchell. Monning. Aye. Morlock. Aye. Morrell. Aye. Wynn. I. Nielsen. I. Pan. I. Pavley. I. Roth. I. Runner. I. Stone. Vidak. I. Wachowski. I. Wolk.
Call the absent members.
Hertzberg, I. Mitchell. I. Stone. I. Wolk. Aye.